I was watching Defunct Land's Fast Pass video before this. It's an hour and
Oh, I've got to
43
watch
minutes.
that.
It is amazing.
I have to check that out later for sure.
Hello and welcome to the ParkStop podcast. My name is Alicia Stella. With me, as always, is my co-host Ian.
Hey, kids.
And joining us today, a very special guest, journalist and guidebook author Seth Kubersky. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me on. It's great talking to you.
I was writing my notes and I'm like, I'm giving up. He writes for so much. I don't even know what to say anymore. Like Orlando Weekly, unofficial guides.
I'll squeeze in all my plugs at the end.
Yeah, exactly. If you read anything about theme parks, you have probably read something he wrote.
If so, I apologize and thank you.
And thank you. This was a busy week for you and theme park fans in general, because we had the IAAPA Expo in the flesh again this year. And we had the Destination D23 event. And so today we're going to talk about those and also just Walt Disney World's 50th anniversary in general. But we don't have to touch on everything because we do have 18 months.
Yes, hopefully.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can stay awake long enough to touch on everything, because whoever decided to schedule both IAAPA and Destination D23 back to back, they owe me a new pair of shoes, because I have walked my legs off this week.
That's why we are so grateful that you are joining us tonight. After
the things we brave journalists do, to keep the public informed. Thank God for the free press, right? What would they do without us?
Oh, well, I
Have
mean,
to walk on their own?
I
don't know.
We did get the opportunity to purchase Pizza Rizzo merchandise. I will say, I would list that among my highlights, seeing that display and knowing instantly that it was made just for you, that someone in Imagineering I don't have a
loves
ticket
you.
For an event I don't have access to. The merchandise,
Alicia.
Clearly there's me and like two other people online that actually care,
Alicia.
and we weren't there.
Alicia has a cult.
It's not
She has a cult. She has a Pizza Rizzo cult. Half my Twitter feed is people tagging you while they're at Pizza Rizzo. Just saying.
Because they know I'm the only one who cares. So,
hey,
anyway.
It's important to find a niche, no matter how sad and flavorless and
soggy the Caesar salad may be.
Lactose reaction inducing it might be. No matter how bad it might make you feel, it's important to have a niche and to stick with it.
I love that merchandise, though, because ironically, people will purchase it because it's a bad restaurant, and also people will purchase it because they love it so much. There is no in between. People love it or they hate it so much they love it.
You can just be indifferent to the food, but really support Rizzo the Rat as a character.
There you go. That's right. He's running a business here.
We can all agree that Rizzo, until Pepe came along, Rizzo was doing a lot of heavy lifting for the Muppets.
Yes, that's true.
Support your local business, rats.
Yeah.
So IAAPA Expo started at the beginning of this week. And I just wanted to ask you because I was only there for a few hours on Friday. Mm-hmm. What were some of the standouts that you saw?
Those of us who are not in the industry, IAAPA is the International Association of Amusement Parks and Attractions, and it's their big annual expo that got canceled last year. So there was a lot of pent up demand and emotion, I think, among people. Glad to see each other. Little surprised how few people were wearing face masks. Considering that they're bringing their own personal variants from all over the world, probably.
Did you see the stickers? Did you get a sticker? Did you get a red sticker?
I did see
sticker?
that. I saw there were stickers. I saw stickers available that would, say, keep your distance, or, fist bumps only, or, I did not see anyone actively using them.
I used the red one. I thought it was just funny. I was like, stay away from me. I don't want to talk to you.
Away.
But the red one's like, stay 3 feet away, no touching, no touchy. And the middle one was like elbow bumps only. And then the last one, the green one, it jumped straight to handshakes and hugs. And I'm like, I don't believe I've ever been to a convention.
There's a little different. Yeah. You know what? You would be surprised. I got a couple approached for a couple hugs because the people you see,
Because you didn't have the
there are
right
people been
sticker.
coming to this convent. There are people right. I didn't. I should have had a sticker. No, there are people you see at this convention every year for the last
Yes.
decade or more. And friendships form, and people have been isolated during the
Right, but
pandemic, and
if
it's
someone
good to be back together. But
if you know them that well enough that you would hug them, they don't need a sticker to tell them that. Like I
I
don't
wish I
see
knew
the
about the stickers
purpose.
sooner. I would have made.
maybe we
fake
should have
ones.
just gone around crossing out the word hugs on all those badges. But
Right?
in more important things, I did appreciate from a journalist's point of view that they had a press conference area set up
Yes.
this year that
Yes.
was
We need to keep
nicely
that.
spaced and laid out. We didn't have to sprint from booth to booth trying to cover the announcements. That was great. As usual, most of the announcements had nothing to do with Orlando. Most of them were things that were going elsewhere. There was, Iowa's getting a big park. So stuff's going to Monterey Bay and Niagara Falls. The two things for the Orlando area are things that a lot of people will probably never see, but I really appreciated. One, Peppa Pig Park is
Mm-hmm.
going to be autism certified and
Mm-hmm.
wheelchair accessible ride vehicles, which is
Ooh, that's
awesome.
awesome.
And Garner Holt, who designs most of the animatronics now for Disney, is donating an Animaker's Maker Lab to give kids the world. So families who are staying there
Ooh.
will be able to experiment with animatronics and go through the whole process of designing and programming a character.
That's
So I
I
think
want to
amazing.
go.
those were both really cool things. The one thing that really jumped out at me was this little company that is in Mount Dora, Florida. Um, it is called Steamroller Studios, and they've done stuff behind the scenes for big clients that they're not allowed to talk about publicly. So this was their first time coming to IAAPA with something to like demonstrate the kind of things they do, and they had this augmented reality haunted room that had a motion simulator couch, and you looked through kind of like an iPad that was like a looking glass to see digital ghosts. But the digital ghosts had real physical interactions around the room, so they would knock books off
Oh,
the
cool.
wall. They would make things move around. So it was a really great blending of old school haunted effects and new technology. Everyone's talking about the metaverse, but I've done lots of the VR things. I love VR. I have a Quest at home, but when I go to a theme park, I want stuff that goes beyond just sitting with my head up against a screen. I want to have stuff that's real, physical, and that
Right.
blurs that boundary between what's digital and
Even if you're gonna,
what's real.
even if you're gonna have digital, at least immerse us in
Mm-hmm.
a real space.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Blend the edges, which comes to my favorite thing, which I think is on your list, which was the Legends panel.
Oh,
The
yes.
the best the best. I saved the best for last. That was my last thing that I did at IAAPA, and the Bob Rogers has a Legend panel every year where he gets together
Yeah.
people who designed some major ride, and they had a reunion for the Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man at Islands of Adventure. Terry Koop, Scott Trowbridge, and Phil Hedema. A lot
Yeah.
of amazing stories, stuff that I didn't know that went into the making of that ride. We could probably do an entire hour podcast just
Well,
recapping that.
if you remember, my first year at IAAPA was 2 years ago, the last
Mhm.
IAAPA Expo, and that was the highlight of my visit because I got to go every day.
That was
The Legends
Galaxy's
panel
Edge.
was Galaxy's Edge, and getting to
Yes.
meet Scott Trowbridge
Mhm.
but this year, I told you earlier in the week, I was so bummed that I don't get to go that day. I can only go Friday because and of course, the most memorable thing of the entire event happened during the Legends panel, which at least from me on the outside looking
Yes.
in and reading you live tweeting and everyone else
Yes.
tweeting, Terry Koop
I've
said
never heard.
something.
I've never heard a audience at a professional industry conference, erupt with cheers and hollers like they did when Terry Koop, who in addition to working on Spider-Man and designing the Wizarding World attractions, is also was made responsible for Fast and the Furious Supercharged. And when asked what the biggest mistake of his career was, he said he wished he had stopped senior management from building the Fast and the Furious ride. And that it brought the house down. Scott Trowbridge literally just put his head down on the desk. he could not look up. He clarified.
Amazing.
He did say he did say something like it's good, but he said it isn't what it should have been.
Right.
Which I think
and I
we
think
can
that's how
all
we
agree.
Right, yeah. It should be test track.
That's
It should be
how
a
we all
roller
feel.
coaster. It should be fast. It should be real.
Right.
It should be literally anything except for what it is.
It should be something that is more entertaining than the first two pre-shows before you get to the third pre-show. Is what it should be.
I had not done this before. There are a bunch of VIP secret tours that are free that you can take at various attractions. A lot of people know about the Men in Black immigration tour. That's really well known. I did not realize until recently that there was a garage tour at Fast and the Furious where they will let you behind the chains and let you get, pose up close with those cars in the queue and let you get right up to all those racks of Easter eggs, the Beetlejuice bobblehead and license plates with references to things, and that was actually more fun than the attraction itself.
No, the queue is amazing. The queue is great.
Yeah,
it
led me through the whole thing, and I was like, and they're like, you want to get back in line for the ride? I'm like, nope, I'm good.
Bye. Oh, man. Did they call you family? That's all I need to know. Did they call it the family tour?
The family tour.
I will say I did this the day after Terry Koop made his his little speech, and the team members at the attraction who gave me the tour were well aware of his statement, and they were also aware that there is a drinking game where every time that they say they say family in the pre-show, you take a shot, and by the time you get to loading, you're completely drunk.
My first pre-show, the last time I rode, the team member in the first pre-show, he said it 11 times. He was definitely aware of the joke, and he was just going. He repeated it every time that someone on the TV said it. He repeated every time we said it. It was great.
We should not spend the whole night on Fast and Furious, but I will say, having stayed away from it for a while because it's just so awful, but then done it a couple times more recently, it has greatly improved just because the team members in pre-show are Rocky Horroring the heck out of the video.
Yeah.
They have rewritten the script
comments.
And they make
it's so good. It's so good.
They are so bitter. they are so jaded. They are actively undermining the terrible performances that the stars give on that video, and it's glorious. It's like Mystery Science Theater at its peak. It's just.
Before we move on, I did just want to point out that this is Terry Koop is the Senior Vice President, Chief Creative Officer of Universal Creative. This is not someone who's retired or doesn't work at the company anymore.
No.
This is someone who is very high up in the Universal Creative, and this is not a common thing to say something about one of your newest attractions while you're still employed there.
He made this statement about 24 hours after his boss got promoted to CEO of all of Universal Parks and Resorts. So so he better hope that Mark is on the same page as him with that and isn't going to quietly shove him out the door.
So at the beginning of IAAPA this week, Disney kind of kicked off the IAAPA event, and they kind of teased some of the stuff they were going to be talking about at Destination D23, which I think got everyone more excited than they were. Like, we all thought, okay, we're not going to get any big announcements at Destination D this year. It's just going to be, a fan event, no big deal. Bob Chapek's not even going to be there. We won't talk about why. And then at this little like opening event for IAAPA, they're like, we're gonna tell you more. We're like, here's New Toontown, and like we actually got some actual information. And I'm like, oh look, they're actually announcing something. Like we got a new tree, and they're gonna and we got new rolling hills, and we'll tell you more details at Destination. They actually told us less details at Destination D than they did at the IAAPA event.
I think we got, and it's unusual because Disney hardly ever says anything of substance at an IAAPA. That's that they usually, Universal and Disney rarely break any news there. And then that kind of got me juiced for thinking that the parks panel that kicked off Destination D23 would have some big reveals. It had a lot of tiny little reveals. It had slightly more details on things that we'd already heard about, confirming a few rumors. But the big news is that in addition to getting the Mickey and Minnie Runaway Railway ride imported from Hollywood Studios, the hills in the back are coming back. It's no longer going to be kind of like the Hollywood hills. Now it looks a little bit more rural. And we're getting a lot more green space. There's a barn. Yeah, there's a barn. We're getting a lot more green space. We're getting a big tree that kids can kind of climb around and under. We're getting some rolling astroturf, I guess, that you'll be able to relax on. A refresh of the playgrounds. Hopefully some things like the final remnants of the Toon trolley that has not moved in a decade
that looks like
will finally be stripped away.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we'll actually get a restaurant, a quick service window back there that you can actually eat at, because the hot dogs and pizza that they've had back there is pretty dire. That might be nice. But we got one nice piece of concept art. We got some vague feel-good description of it. And if you like the current Toontown, better go see it before March, because it's closing.
Are they renaming Roger Rabbit's Cartoon Spin, do you think? Because it was excluded.
Is it going to become Jessica Rabbit's? It was very artfully
Detective Jessica Rabbit's Cartoon Spin.
Oh man.
I have not heard that, but I mean, it wouldn't shock me.
You know the joke, the Agent P joke with the fedora, and it's like Jessica Rabbit, and then she puts on a fedora, Detective Jessica Rabbit. Anything to get a Doofenshmirtz impression in here. So that was so getting into the connections, a look at the future of Disney parks, experiences, and products. So much hope going into this, and I feel like I'm just watching the live stream. You were actually in the room, Seth, but I feel like there was a lot of awkward silence between some of these announcements, and I'm using announcements term loosely, to the point where by the end, Josh D'Amaro had to keep asking for applause, and he's like, "Come on, isn't that great?"
There were a couple of noticeable points where I think he expected a bigger crowd reaction than he got. I will say, I mean, these people are the most hardcore of the Disney nerds. These are people who basically spent a lot of money to watch a 2-day infomercial. We were pretty much just, it's all being pitched various Disney products, and for a 2-day infomercial, it was all really slickly produced. Everyone on stage had a lot of enthusiasm for everything that they were selling us. But I think, I think maybe especially people who are used to going to the big D23 Expo out west, they seem to break a lot of, more substantial news there. And I think anyone who was hoping to get that here was probably a little muted in their response, because it was one thing after another that we already kind of knew.
But I looked at it as a positive thing. I'm like, well, that's new, and it's 2 words out of every 6 paragraphs, but there are those 2 words that are new, and I always find those a little interesting.
But you had to if you knew the subject matter really well, and honestly, they're talking to 2,000 people who live, breathe, and eat Disney and follow every development. It was really like combing through the sand to find the one little nugget of new info.
So one of the first new things they said, just going through the list real quick, Avengers Campus will be opening next summer at Disneyland Paris. I believe that was new information, technically.
Yes, and that was a common theme that we would get. We might have known something was 2022. Now we know it's summer 2022.
Exactly,
but we
that
don't
one
have
word.
a month, much less a date. So we've narrowed things down to like a quarter.
Right. We get 3 announcements out of everything now. It's the season, the month, the day.
Yes.
We're gonna get
but
4
we didn't get that much.
We're gonna break this down.
But we didn't even get that much
for the hour.
We didn't even get that much for some things that are under construction. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
If you're Zach Ridley, you get to announce every floor tile, every piece of wall siding.
Exactly.
They recapped some of the stuff we already knew about, like Fantasy Springs, obviously, Frozen Land coming to Hong Kong. I thought it was interesting that Zootopia at Shanghai was described as the world's first Zootopia land. Like, those words stood out to me.
Right. Because now that Joe Rohde's not in charge anymore, they can start putting animals with pants into Animal Kingdom, I guess.
Enjoy your 5 years of exclusivity, because that's usually what they do. Like with the Tron or the Ratatouille, you get 5 years exclusivity with Zootopia, and then it's coming over here.
We did get to see a little clip of an animatronic yak who looked appropriately hairy. So yay for animatronics.
2 seconds of footage,
if it is like
2 extra.
Yeah, if it is like other Shanghai dark rides, it will have 2 or 3 really fantastic animatronics and a whole lot of screens.
Oh, it's gonna be already. I'm like, oh, 1 animatronic. That's more than I was expecting. So it's already. I was expecting Spider-Man. So not the new Spider-Man, the good Spider-Man. Disneyland talked about Mickey's Toontown. They talked about the Disneyland Hotel. I thought this was interesting. They got the project manager, I forgot her name, came out and talked about the new rooms, and then she talked about the pool area, and she started to go into details and then said, you know what, we'll save that for another day. And I'm like, you can't even give us more details on the pool area? I thought we were getting something.
I mean, the initial permits that they had submitted to the city of Anaheim for construction kind of showed a pool that had an animator's palette theme.
Yeah, right.
Like an ink and paint theme to it. And so that sounds like what they're sticking with. I did like, though, that they showed a little bit of the interior of the rooms.
Yeah, it did
they
look
definitely
good.
look nicer and more modern than the current Disneyland Hotel, because the current Disneyland Hotel is basically like they've refurbished those 1,000 times, but they still go back to like the late 60s. I liked that they're using Walt's own sketches and background art from Sleeping Beauty as inspiration for
I did
the
like
decor
that.
in the rooms.
The color palette taken directly from like the backgrounds and stuff from Sleeping Beauty. I thought that was clever. It was all the exterior is a little but all the interior stuff and the design and the colors was beautiful. But it's sad when that
quickly.
Again, we shouldn't have expected anything. I think everyone in the audience that had in their mind psyched themselves up, because it had been, with the pandemic, we had a lot of downtime. We didn't get an expo. We didn't get all these big announcements. Things that were supposed to have been open already aren't open. So it should have been time for more awesome announcement. We should be hearing new Figment ride, and we should be hearing new this and new that, but we still haven't even gotten Moana, Journey of Water. So I get the disappointment, but I also understand the reality of the situation.
I think we also have to understand the reality that the mindset of the Disney company is right now about maximizing their current capital investments. And, Universal is in a mindset of investing in new things like Epic Universe. Disney's looking at how much return on investment can we get out of what we've already done? How much, per capita money can we get out of each guest? And that doesn't necessarily mean building a new $200 million ride as much as the fans want it to.
It does mean repealing things, killing value of tickets.
Spread out Remy's Ratatouille adventure and Guardians of the Galaxy and Tron to the point where we try to get those same people to come back 3 times instead of once.
Well, I think we're clearly seeing that. Well, we'll get to Epcot in a minute.
No, I want to get to Epcot now. Let's jump to Epcot.
You want to do it? All right, we'll
Yeah.
jump to Epcot. I think we're
Epcot.
clearly seeing that they have they've got this 18-month celebration, and clearly Remy is the kickoff of it. Guardians of the Galaxy is going to be the tent pole of next summer 2022.
New
Is
announcement.
when
The
we're
word summer.
promised that it's
The
going.
word
The
summer
word
is
summer.
new.
We yeah. So that's good, and I can pretty much guarantee that Guardians of the Galaxy is going to be the thing that closes off. That closes off the big celebration and then leads people to keep coming afterwards. But they're going to spread these 3 big investments out over as many fiscal quarters as they can and get as much marketing juice out of it. The worst thing that can happen to them is to launch too many things at once and not get the full marketing value out of each one individually. At least that's their mindset.
Right.
I mean, back in the day, we saw, back in the 80s that they were advertising, here's 20 new things at Disney World at this year.
Yeah. The 90s did that too with the Eisner era and trying to
exactly. And it was all about, overwhelming you with so many new things that you had to try. And now it's like, here's the one new ride that you're going to plan your whole vacation around and then come back in 5 years and hopefully we'll have another one.
Hopefully you get a boarding group or just pay for it because that's the one reason you came here. So announcements we did get. Electric Umbrella's replacement has a name. If you could remember it, it's Connections Cafe.
Connections Cafe.
And
we've got Creation Store, Connection Cafe. We have a trend of really bland,
Seth,
literal names.
What neighborhood are these in?
They're all in World Celebration.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
It's Connections Cafe in World Celebration across from the Creation Shop. That's all C. And that's the motif, I guess.
Well, C is for cookie, and that's good enough for me.
Oh, man. I just thought of summer school where the 2 guys were cheating on each other. C.
I will say that the one rendering we did get to see of Connection Cafe looked a lot brighter and more cheerful and welcoming. Electric Umbrella always reminded me of the video arcade that they had in the mall when I was growing up, where it was always
it's like the
kind
carpet.
of dark and you don't know what's living in the carpet.
Yeah, it's exactly what it was. 1989's video arcade in the mall. I think that mural, and just like Creation Shop, the mural is the one designed thing, and the rest is just let the merchandise speak for itself, and there's not much to it. But like the mural in the new Connections Cafe made me think of the ending to Spaceship Earth that they didn't refurbish, where it's supposed to be like all the different people of the world coming together through connections. And I feel like this restaurant was supposed to tie into the new Spaceship Earth that they didn't do. And so like we got the quick service location retheme, but not the main thesis attraction of the park retheme.
Yeah, it's better than the ride. Who needs a ride?
Priorities. Yeah, the gift shop was priority number 1. Festival Center, eventually.
Maybe.
Speaking of, I do want to jump. There was something today where they said Epcot will be done in 2023. Were you there for that?
What?
I don't recall hearing that. No, I don't recall hearing that. I must have missed that.
There's a new soundtrack.
Done in what sense? I recall at least 2 different people saying, Epcot will always be in a state of becoming.
Walt Disney once said about a city called Epcot that has nothing to do with this theme park will always be in a state of becoming. Yeah, Josh said that. Yes, but no, someone said that they're doing a whole new original soundtrack for Epcot that will debut in 2023 to coincide with the completion of the changes that they're undergoing in the center of Future World.
I did hear the soundtrack coming in 2023. Maybe that is aspirational, that they're hoping that the changes that they've got, once Moana, I think, is done, maybe we'll get that China film that I think is sitting on a shelf. But if you were hoping that
the seamless
they're going to say,
if
you're hoping they're going to say, and we're doing Mary Poppins and Brazil and Greece, nope. Coco.
Isn't it supposed to be Africa? Isn't that still the one they're supposed to be doing?
Yeah,
Since,
That was
that's
announced in
not happening.
1985. I don't.
Exactly.
I still want my German boat ride. Darn it.
Yeah, and the roller coaster in Japan.
That means that the entry music that they picked out of royalty-free music is temporary. They admitted it, essentially. If they're doing a new soundtrack for Epcot, then all of the hand-selected royalty-free music is probably temporary just for a couple of years.
That would be a possibility.
I mean, it's inspirational enough, but it's not memorable. So,
Right,
I'm not going to be sad when it goes away.
It's music. It's music.
Yeah.
There's also we got confirmation that that Walt Disney statue at Dreamer's Point is actually happening. We don't really know how much of the rest of the stuff that was supposed to go around
Seth,
it. Like
that was
big
in the ABC
event
special. We've already gotten triple confirmation that the statue is happening.
Okay. Well, we saw them actually sculpt it. So we saw a picture of someone actually sculpting it. So
yes, and in that picture, a video of them sculpting it, in the background was new or old concept art that showed the actual like exit show for Spaceship Earth that they were planning to do, which leads me to believe that maquette being sculpted was actually like 3 years ago before they released the official concept art. Because if you look at the actual, if you look at the real concept art on the press website right now, that it just shows Spaceship Earth in the background, not the new rendering that's in that video. So I think that's old video showing us something they're not going to build, and that makes me sad. The Spaceship Earth redo is never going to happen. Never going to happen. Actress Glenn Close is reprising her role as Nova Prime for Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. That's technically news.
It is, and she did a little video clip in character and costume, and presumably she did that. It was a little higher D23, but presumably she would have done that at the same time she was shooting her footage.
Yes. Did you see the press release?
I did not see the actual press release, no.
It says, Disney Imagineers were recently on set for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 to film with the Guardians for this new attraction. It's in past tense. Go. So I think they filmed already.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that's finally getting done. And in the actual MCU, I believe her character is dead. So I'm glad that in the theme park universe, she's still around.
If you allow me to nerd out for a moment, I'd also like to point out that Groot is full size in the poster and on the attraction, but he would only be adolescent or even baby Groot still before she passes away. So this can't happen. And if you ask James Gunn, which someone did, it is in an alternate universe. So this attraction takes place.
We can explain anything with the multiverse.
Just like Avengers Campus in its own universe. Mm-hmm. So anything can happen on this ride and anyone can still be alive. It's like the Rick and Morty thing. Like there's a million universes. Try not to think about it. Mm-hmm. There was 2 pieces of concept art for the queue, though. That's like the least interesting part of the attraction. Here are concept art.
I like the little models. Animatronic.
Oh, yeah.
Are we assuming that's an animatronic?
I wasn't sure I wasn't 100% sure if it was a walk-around or an animatronic.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, it looked like it could be a free-roaming animatronic.
I think it is. It's just tethered for programming purposes currently.
Are we talking about the baby Groot, or are we talking about the concept art of the full-size Groot?
The baby Groot that they actually showed moving.
The baby Groot is an animatronic, but it's tethered. It's not completely autonomous. We did get to see a exoskeleton suit that could potentially be used for supersized characters. That was pretty interesting. I think it would make an excellent Wampa.
I like how I wrote in my notes Wamba. I believe I misspelled that. But Josh D'Amaro said the character's hands can close so he could hold a taco. And that makes me think of the Incredible Hulk.
Mm-hmm. Does anyone else remember when Universal had a super goofy, like inflatable Hulk walk-around costume?
No.
Very rarely used, only on special events. It was so dopey. Yeah.
I remember when Islands of Adventure had an Ian Malcolm walk-around character.
Oh, yeah. That was my dream job. I wish.
That's awesome.
It was very short-lived. The John Hammond lasted longer than the Ian Malcolm, but yeah.
Last time I was there was a guy working the attraction that looked like John Hammond. I almost asked him if he spared no expense, but I figured he had it like 1,000 times a day.
Before we get too much further, we did forget one thing at Disneyland, which is the next evolution of the downtown Disney district.
Yes.
The AMC theaters are finally being torn down, along with, pour one out for it, Earl of Sandwich. And we're getting more AstroTurf instead. What looks like maybe a band shell. They already do concerts down
green
there.
Spaces. Green spaces
Yep.
are all the rage now. Project Gemini for Epcot, way ahead of its time.
You know what? I do think that the AstroTurf. No, that was good. Jim Hill appreciated that one. He'll talk to you about Project Gemini for days.
Oh man,
Time Racers coming from Microsoft.
There we go.
No, I personally think that like the additional green space that was added to the Magic Kingdom hub is really nice when you're allowed to use it. And I love seeing people sleeping on Music Plaza in Universal Studios Florida.
Yep.
So,
although the OG green space, the Central Park, that's where I would sleep. Central more shade. Park. Yeah, more shade.
Oh yeah, for sure. But no, I mean, I think it'll be interesting how that changes. That's just tearing out AMC should really open up crowd flow through that whole area. So looking forward to it.
All the expansions and the moving around of things at Disneyland Resort is always fascinating because it's such you have to be really smart and clever in how they move things, the chess pieces around to try to make things work. Mm-hmm. And the whole Disneyland Forward thing is going to be fascinating in the next, 5, 10, 20 years to see what they're able to accomplish with such little land.
Yeah.
And they're getting Magic Band
Plus.
To
keep up with that.
Magic Band Plus is going to Disneyland. That's news.
Oh, did we skip that too? Yes, that's important. Back in the day, they rolled out Magic Band in Florida, and there was a lot of whispering that, the people in Florida will use it, but people in California would never accept that, And so it'll be interesting to see the uptake. Honestly, I've gotten so used to tapping into everything with my phone at Disneyland that I don't necessarily need another accessory, but the Magic Band Plus will have haptic and lighting effects, and supposedly
it's
also
glow
have
with the show.
gesture control.
It's reincarnated glow with the show.
It's glow with the show mixed with a little bit of like Harry Potter wands. So
it's what the Magic Bands were supposed to do, a guest experience.
The running theme for all Disney announcements this year is we're finally giving you something for an extra cost that does what we told you the thing we already gave you was supposed to do but didn't.
I just want that.
Oh man, that's accurate.
Which I think brings us to Galactic Starcruiser.
Oh yes,
Oh no!
Everything at Galactic Starcruiser was pretty much like, remember we told you Galaxy's Edge would have all of this cool stuff? Well, here's where you finally get the cool stuff that you thought you'd get at Galaxy's Edge.
I just want them to tell me, I heard you had a rough flight on the Falcon and that you owe some credits to blah, blah, blah. I just want to hear the integration, but now it'll finally happen if I spend $2,000 a person.
Dollars, exactly. Exactly. So first of all, they got to stop using the word real when referring to a lightsaber, unless they can cut someone's arm off with it on stage. That's, if they can slice someone's hand off, then I will buy it as a real lightsaber. But for right now, what they have is the world's most beautiful tape measure. Tape measure. And Josh Tomorrow made a big point of saying, I've heard some grumbling. I want to dispel rumors. I want to show you it really is real. And he very beautifully, had the lights dim, and it came out the beautiful blue glow, and everyone oohs and ahs. But then you notice that he's cradling it from the bottom, like it's a
newborn baby. That's what I said.
And then he gently hands it off to someone else. Who carries it off stage.
It's okay, look.
And I'll tell you exactly what it reminded me of is at the at Avengers Campus in California, they have a Doctor Strange show. And at a certain point of it, he makes a pole magically appear out of a small vessel. And then he hands that pole to an assistant who mysteriously walks behind a door and instantly comes back with the pole. But the pole just now happens to be solid enough that Doctor Strange can actually do stuff with it.
Wait, he had an assistant take it just to give it back?
It was literally
story,
the
what's
assistant.
The point of that?
absolutely no purpose, and it's total misdirection. It's like Doctor Strange does waving around with his hands, and the assistant literally like walks backstage and immediately comes back with a dummy, a duplicate pole. But that's basically a birthday party magic show. So
I was saying, in my
don't
mind, I'm
expect
imagining
much
her
better.
in a red dress, the assistant. Later, they cut her in half.
That's exactly what it is. But that is a street show that is included in your regular park ticket. It is not
Right.
something that you are, the centerpiece of a $2,000 a night experience.
Josh D'Amaro said the words, "I want to set the record straight." And I'm like, good, thank you. Please, you need to explain to people that they're not going to be able to handle this real lightsaber, that the real lightsaber that is just for shows. It's just Rey's going to like take it out and go boom, and then walk behind a wall, trade it out for a different one, and then use it for fight choreography. This will never be something we get to touch.
Yeah.
And instead of setting the record straight, he doubles down and he says, "It is real and it is only mine." And he lights it up, and then we get to watch like home video footage of him playing at the hotel. Like he's having a great time. That's all that matters.
Can we discuss the overacting in that scene with him trying to catch laser lights that are coming out of the wall? Like something
I don't know. I don't know if he's overacting. I don't know if he's overacting or he's just like played a little too much Beat Saber, or it looked like your dad, or your dad trying to play Dance Dance Revolution or something.
Very so uncomfortable. He looked horrible. He looked so bad.
What did you guys think of the effect?
I could come over to your house right now and do it if you guys want to get lightsabers.
I know. Laser pointer.
I mean, it's a little bit of fog and a couple laser pointers, and it basically looks like you're playing Simon. You're playing Simon basically with a lightsaber. So
do you know when you go to the dentist
also amused,
and they give you those glasses for UV light? Do you think they're going to give us glasses in case the laser hits us in the eye?
I don't know if that's even a laser. I think it's just a high intensity.
I think it's a light.
It's in between a light and a that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I don't think it's even
purple,
a laser. I think it's just a flashlight.
Just a light.
I was also amused to see that the training session for the bridge command shooting down it's basically missile command, right?
Missile command.
Yeah,
yes.
I thought
he's got a joystick instead of a trackball, but it's cooperative missile command.
I thought of Space Invaders. I was like, it's an updated Star Wars Space Invaders is what I thought of when I saw it.
I think it might just be a reskin version of the Q game that they tore out of Space Mountain.
My God. Right.
I mean, it basically seems like, an upgraded version of that kind of thing. Which, I mean, I think it's all going to come down to the actors who are playing the crew and who have to sell this stuff, who have to take stuff that is basically dressed up children's games and make them seem like the most amazing thing ever. And I tell you,
you say actors, but you mean cast members, right?
I'm sorry.
Yes.
The cast members.
But
a lot of the cast, but the cast members on this are not they're gonna have to really step up their game. Like they're gonna have to be performers. They're gonna have to be actors. They can't just, be someone with a funny name and a costume. Who's interchangeable with someone that you could meet in the park, and they've talked a lot about the characters that we're going to meet, the captain and the mechanic, and there's finally going to be an R2 unit that is going to move around. I hope
roaming droids. Yes, behind a paywall.
Hopefully, yeah, exactly. Another thing that we thought we were going to see, but it's really I think the technology, I'm sure there'll be some cool effects that in a few years will become kind of outdated. It's going to come down to the story and the performances to sell this, to make people feel that they really had an immersive experience and are not just, in a bad LARPing session.
As you're saying this, I'm thinking about Belle's Enchanted Enchanted Tales with Belle, and how good that is, and how amazingly incredible still to this day that special effect mirror is, and that's included with park admission. That's what that is. Yep. And we need some more things that.
Disney sets a really high standard. When you have an e-ticket ride like Rise of the Resistance, and that's included in $100-something ticket. Then now, if you're saying what's $2,000 worth of entertainment now?
Right, the bar is high.
If that's the benchmark you've set. They showed us more food. They teased us more about um, Gaia, who is the singer who's going to appear kind of in a dinner show. And they also gave us a bit more about backstory. The Halcyon apparently has been around for a long time. It was around during the High Republic era. It even sounds
Anakin
like
visited as a kid.
Anakin visit Padme. Yeah, Padme. Yes, just like Star-Lord visiting Epcot as a kid. Padme and Anakin were on a secret mission, and they also hinted that Han and Leia had their honeymoon on it.
Honestly, what you're describing all sounds more interesting than the time period we're actually boarding it in. They could have done those as the time periods, but they didn't.
Can I also say, when they said Space Diva, the first thought in my head was, yeah, I saw The Fifth Element too. And then they chose the race that they chose too. And I was like, come on.
My first thought was Celestina Warbeck, the wizard diva.
I wonder who is writing her songs. Because they did say they talked about that she is going to sing a song about power, which ties into her mission to retrieve coaxium for her home planet. And
because she's too big a star to be on a cruise ship. She's too big a star in the galaxy to be on a cruise ship. So of course there's an ulterior motive, and everything is tied together. If you can't
afford to go on this thing, there will be comic books and I'm sure other tie-ins that will let you vicariously dig into the elaborate backstory. But it's for the 1% of the 1%, and I know that I am not on the media list. I was very jealous last week. Dwayne Bevel from the Orlando Sentinel got to go. Ashley Eckstein from her universe. A couple other people. Carly Wiesel. Yeah. And they are the anointed few who have been inside, and I'm sure they will get free trips when it launches.
And this thing will be booked. This thing will be booked solid for years.
I mean,
it has so few rooms.
It's already booked out for the first few months.
I think 3 months,
already. Yeah.
So everyone's
it's only 100 cabins. So
people I talk to are like, it's going to be such a failure, and it's not going to be able to. Once the vloggers are done, there
are not many vloggers.
100 rooms.
There are like 6 vloggers who are making enough on YouTube that can afford to visit.
They have
and 2 of
so
them are
few
named
rooms and so few days a week to fill this thing. This thing will be booked solid for years. I think Ian was asking me what I thought they would change or when it would change. I was like, they'll add little teeny new experiences every couple of years, but the overall thing's not going to change for 5-10 years. And even other people are claiming they're going to add a pool and turn it into a normal hotel. And I'm like, you can't run that as a normal hotel. It's cheaper to close it. This thing is a very specifically built boutique situation. It is a long show is what this is.
The one good thing I would say, I know a lot of people who are on it on the creative side, and they are the best improvisers in town. So if anyone is able to make this work, it's the actors and the directors they've got working on it.
I have no doubt that the show elements are going to be incredible. I think the thing on the bridge or the room, the like main lobby room on the ship, is going to be incredible. There's going to be like a Kylo Ren experience where he's ripping parts of the balcony off and it flies across the room. It's going to be awesome, like Rise of the Resistance level special effects. But I wish I could just go do that and then go home and not have to sleep in a tiny little cabin.
Or play the awful games.
Apparently, also every time that someone pulls the hyperspace lever on the bridge, it affects all of the view screens, and you feel it in the cabins. I don't know if you feel it. You see it and hear it in the cabins. And so I hope someone is not, you're trying to get a good night's sleep, and someone's on the bridge yanking the hyperspace lever over.
There's actually
going to be some 8-year-old.
Wait, there can't be actual continuity because every time there's a group on the bridge, there just happens to be an attack on the ship. That means the ship's going to be constantly under attack.
Exactly, but they did say that that it's all tied together, and that what happens on the bridge supposedly affects
that's kind of cool though.
All the rest of the ship.
We don't have to get into everything. Because we're running out of time, and we mostly talked about the announcements and non-announcements. A couple other things
we can run through. Like,
He mentioned
Yeah.
he mentioned Tron. He said
Yeah.
exciting progress being
It
made.
exists.
Josh,
It's there.
that was the biggest surprise to me, is them acknowledging that they're still building it. I know they are building it, but it's amazing that they acknowledged it.
The closest we got to Tron news was we got an update on the railroad, which we know has been stopped through Tron construction, and they have completely rebuilt locomotive number 1, and looks like they are getting prepared to have the railroad able to run again.
Right.
But
Once
they did not give any sort of date for reopening.
I think that's why they've been putting a rush on the walkways into the attraction, and they're even pouring concrete right now as we speak, because then they can put that tunnel in and start the train back up. So we're gonna have the train probably a year before the ride ever opens, which I wish they had done it sooner, honestly, because I miss the train more than I want Tron.
I miss the train more than not as much as I miss the trams. Just saying.
Oh, the poor trams. Why did Josh announce all the things that were back that have been back for like a year?
Like churros.
What is
like, was there a time when we couldn't get churros?
What is your theory?
Did I miss that
do you
nightmare?
Have a theory? Seth, do you have a theory why he said churros so triumphantly? Because there was a couple out there.
I think it was just because he knows that people will cheer for churros. Maybe people were hoping if they cheered for churros, there would be free churros as we exited the room.
Oh my God.
That is my best.
Like Velocicoaster.
It's called a
Velocicoaster, exactly.
In wrestling, it's called a cheap pop, in my opinion. That's what I thought a lot of the going over what's back.
Yeah, it's an easy pop. Clap. World of Color coming back, Phantasmic coming back, Main Street Electrical Parade coming back, Phantasmic coming back for Hollywood Studios, Parades coming back.
That had not been confirmed, and we did get a piece of artwork for the Phantasmic that had a 50th logo, and it had symbols that imply Aladdin, Moana, and Frozen 2 will be elements in the show.
Well, great. You can take out the 5-minute boat sequence with Pocahontas, and you can squeeze them all in that empty space.
They said they did not name it, but they said a major sequence of the show will be completely replaced.
Thank God.
If it isn't Pocahontas, then someone needs a new job, because that's so
this is the most dated show. You can tell
what
year this show debuted because it's got a 5-minute Pocahontas sequence. The cavalcades are staying. There's a new cavalcade coming, but also parades are coming back. That's I mean,
I want my fire-breathing steampunk dragon. Damn it!
Yeah, that's all that really
only
matters.
If it catches itself on fire. That's the only part I like.
Things not announced to return. Typhoon Lagoon. Wait, why? He mentioned, he specifically brought up Blizzard Beach for no reason at all. There was no reason to mention that. It's like, but didn't mention Typhoon Lagoon. I was expecting it to say like, and opening next year or eventually or coming soon, but nope. And trams, no trams.
Trams not on the list. NBA experience, not on the list. Affordable prices, not announced to return.
But churros
value
are
for
back,
your ticket.
Does
that come back?
Churros are back.
Finding Nemo later yesterday. Finding Nemo: The Big Blue and Beyond is the new name for Finding Nemo the musical.
I did not know that was going to be the title, so that is new. And we also found out that it is going to be set in the timeline of Finding Dory.
Yes.
It is set in the Marine Institute from that film.
Are they going to redo the facade?
I don't know. They didn't say anything about that. They didn't show us any new concept art, anything like that. The only thing they did say was that the new framing device of this show is P. Sherman's The Fish Tank Gang. They are narrating the show, telling the story of Finding Nemo to, we are in the Marine Institute and we are all fish, and they're, I guess, telling the story to us. And which is an interesting recurring theme. We're also seeing it in the show that's coming to the ship, that we can't just tell a story straight out anymore. We have to have a character who becomes the framing device that is retelling the story, as opposed to just
it works really well with Frozen Sing-Along. I'll tell you that. The Arendelle Historic Society or whatever framing device works really well for that
I will
show.
agree with that. I like the Frozen Sing-Along better than I like the Frozen musical, either in California Adventure or Well, I haven't seen the Broadway one, so I'll let you know.
And nothing is as terrible as the Beauty and the Beast sing-along, which has the worst framing device, which is
worst
Mrs.
framing
Potts
device of all
talks
time.
90% of the time during something we're supposed to be singing through.
Let's take away the agency of one of Disney's most progressive heroines and instead make the protagonist the antagonist's sidekick. That's a great idea.
Yeah. So in the
Didn't I
last,
say we were going to get sidetracked and this was going to take longer than an hour?
We got 3
promised you it would
minutes.
happen.
We
That
got
never
3
happens.
minutes to go
Never
through
happens.
everything
We
from
got a
Walt
minute
Disney
and a
World's
half.
We got 3 minutes to go through all of Walt
And
Disney World's
go.
50th anniversary. And you know what? I think we can do it because there's not that much.
I think you can do it in one breath.
And go.
Oh, yeah, I could. We got Disney's Enchantment, Harmonious, Disney Kite Tales, Remy's Ratatouille Adventure, Space 220 opened, Weird Foods came out, I guess, Steakhouse 71, La Crêperie de Paris, good retro merchandise, everything's iridescent, 50 gold statues, and drawn to life.
Thank you. Have a good night, everybody. Bye.
Did you see Enchantment?
I did get to see Drawn. I've seen Enchantment, which I think is a step backwards from the last fireworks show. I like some of the projections on Main Street, but I don't think it uses its projection mapping nearly as well as the show that they had at Disneyland, and not as well as just overall the music, the flow of it. It's not my favorite. I like
fine.
Harmonious a lot.
It's fine.
I like Harmonious a lot,
little
but
better,
I don't
a little
have
better.
the emotional attachment that I did to Illuminations. It was pleasant.
Okay. Good. I'll take it.
It was pleasant.
Take it.
I'll
was
see
pleasant.
it again. I like
Kite Tales?
Ratatouille more than... I haven't seen Kite Tales in person, but I find all the videos of the crashing kites absolutely hilarious.
I was
So I'm a
surprised
fan.
how much I actually liked it in person, but it's 8 minutes long.
It's been canceled every time I've tried to go to see it. So
if it's too windy, yeah. What do you think about
yeah,
Remy?
I like it better than most people do. I
Me
really wish
too.
that they mentioned this in the Spider-Man Legends panel, that one of the reasons Spider-Man works so well is that the sides of the car control your view like a movie frame, and prevent you from seeing the edges of the screens.
Yep.
I think if Ratatouille was just built so that I wasn't constantly looking at the floor or looking at the edge of the screen, I would find it much more involving. But it is so charming, and it's got a lot of little detail that's worth repeat rides. Unfortunately, the only way to do that is to use
Pay
individual
money.
lightning lane. You know what? I have decided, though, given the choice between waking up at 7 a.m,
Yep. Or
for
paying $9 to
virtual line,
$11,
or paying I'm paying the $11. I'm just biting the bullet and doing it, because it's literally like today. It was like an hour wait with the virtual line once you had your return time.
Lightning lane
and about
at most is
90
5
seconds.
minutes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
With my thoughts on Ratatouille, I love it because it's my favorite Pixar movie, but it is the 3 cars at once problem where Spider-Man, Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man is directing one car's attention. This one is trying to split the difference between 3, and it moves you to different
does
positions.
Not always work.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
it's
sometimes
like you get to see one
scene will be
sequence
good.
really good.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the runaway railway problem too, but this is even worse because you have the big screens and you are sitting with other people. It's kind of like the SeaWorld ride that will never open again, where that screen segment doesn't work as a simulator ride because you're just sitting there in a room like the Minions thing, but worse.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it is still a really good ride. It's the Michael Giacchino, the ride. It's so good.
Yeah. Fantastic music.
Best music.
And I am actually also a fan of the crepe restaurant, not so much the walk-up windows, which always have a crazy long line, but the sit-down. It's the only sit-down where I can get a table anytime I want to walk up. And the fixed price dinner, you get an appetizer, an entree, a dessert, and an alcoholic drink for under $40. I don't think you can find that anywhere else at Disney.
It's essentially like getting a free crepe out of it if you do the pricing. If you ordered it all individually,
the crepes are big.
It would cost more.
You could split them.
Oh yeah, you could. Are you allowed to split a prefix meal? I don't know if you can get. I'm not going to eat. My
go
wife's
with
going
someone.
to eat.
Here's a tip. one person gets the adult prefix, the other person orders a kids meal. The kids
Mm.
meal crepes are like pretty much exactly the same size as the adult ones. And they're just as good. And it's like the kids meal is like under $20. And you get an entree and a dessert.
Do you have a suggestion for the best crepe?
Oh,
Dessert
I
or
really like this.
savory?
I really like the smoked salmon. If you're a fan of smoked salmon and creme fraiche, go with that for the savory one.
I've
And
only tried the Ratatouille one. I thought it was fitting, and I was shocked at how good it was. Like
yes,
I'm
I
a
had the
sucker for
rat
chopped
the
vegetables. It is so good.
I had the ratatouille one also, and that was excellent. If you're vegetarian, fantastic choice. And for dessert, I'm all about chocolate Nutella.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
But the kids on the kids menu, there's like a simple like berry. It's just like mixed berries and sauce, and it's actually really good. And I don't think it's on the adult menu.
Oh, okay. And yes, I did want to ask you. You did see Drawn to Life by Cirque du Soleil and
Yes,
Disney,
yes.
and
Oh yeah, I'm curious.
I'm a huge Cirque fan, and I saw La Nuba dozens of times. So I have like a really high standard for Cirque. I enjoyed the show a lot. I don't think that it is quite as good as La Nuba was at its peak. La Nuba had its ups and downs over the years. If I'm going to compare it to other Cirque shows, for me in Vegas, Love and Mystere are still the very best. This is a step behind that, but I would put it ahead of Ka, um, and definitely ahead of a lot of their touring shows. Um, I loved 90% of it, because 90% of it is Cirque du Soleil with a Disney influence,
mhm.
but there are a couple really glaring moments. There are transitional moments where they break Cirque's cardinal rule and talk in English.
Ooh, yeah.
Cirque is always best when they are either speaking gibberish or just performing with their bodies and not trying to be literal in telling a story, but just being impressionistic and dreamlike.
Do you think that's
And
Disney's influence,
it
trying to
feels
be all
100%
audiences?
like it. There are at least two moments in the show where the show literally grinds to a halt, and it feels like the Cirque du Soleil director left the building and they brought someone over from theme park entertainment to direct a scene. They literally like do Lion King jokes and quote "Let It Go" and do a lot of
Oh, that
goofy
is really
shtick
weird. Because I was gonna
that
say
is
That's
the
super
Broadway
totally
weird.
show
out of
for Lion King.
character.
The Broadway show for the Lion King changed "It's a Small World" to Let It Go" when Zazu sings, and he's like, "Oh no, anything but that." It's like a little too winky.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They're, and they're
Like,
they're for most of the show, the Disney influence is really subtle, and it's less about literally interpreting a Disney character or movie, but more about the process of animation, like the idea of squash and stretch.
yeah.
Becomes um, you know people doing an athletic thing with rubber bands and stuff, and that's when I really liked it. As soon as it starts, literally being a character, or like the music is mostly original music that just kind of weaves in hints of the theme. So, like, you hear a few notes of a song you recognize or chords from a song you recognize. And then at one point, they just start hammering let it go over and over and over again. And it's like they were almost there. And it was like they got afraid that they weren't putting enough Disney theme park shtick into it, that
You
the
just
kids in the audience would be
described
disappointed.
Disney, the corporation at this time in general, where everyone's
Yeah.
trying so hard to do something creative and unique, and then gets mandated to stick in that thing.
Yeah.
Like, they
The
tried. They're
technology is
trying.
amazing. The acrobatic athleticism is fantastic. A lot of the character stuff is really engaging. The story of this girl whose father was an animator and passed away, and she's like trying to fulfill his legacy by completing his last animation, has got a really strong emotional tug. At D23, Eric Goldberg, who's the master animator who did the genie and a lot of other characters, he was sort of led the team for the animation that they created for this. And it was really, hearing where it came from an emotional place, I totally got it. And I didn't need them to talk on stage in order to do that.
Yeah,
I wanted Cirque to just trust that they can tell a story without over explaining it like that.
but it's still a great show.
Still a fantastic show, and especially, I took someone who had never been to a Cirque show before, and they were really blown away. This is your
That's awesome.
introduction to Cirque. It'd be a great gateway drug, and then it'll maybe
It's
lead you to some of their other
right.
work.
It sounds like a perfect Disney World Cirque show where it's a good entry point, and then you can seek out more later.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I did want to talk about Disney Genie, but we're out of time, so maybe
I'm gonna have to come back and do a whole nother hour, and we can just talk about why Disney Genie hates me,
right.
why Disney Genie wants me to eat things that were gonna make me sick,
Like Pizza Rizzo.
Disney like Pizza Rizzo. What did I do to you? I've never had a friend like him.
If you have some time, I'll let you sleep because you had a very busy week. But maybe one day soon we should do like a Patreon show where we just talk about. I'll talk about how much I love Disney Genie. Until then, I check my bank statement and realize I just accidentally spent so much money because it's too easy to get the a la carte ones. A little too easy.
Yep. It's just like, oh, I'll never miss that $11. They add up.
Yeah. Especially if you're with a group and it's like, oh, no one wants to wait in line for this. Oh, I'll just treat them all to I just spent $70. For one ride.
I would love to come back and we can totally tear into Disney Genie and anything else you like. I love talking with you guys.
Oh, thanks so much for joining us and talking today. Seth, where can everyone find you?
Well, you can find me, first of all, the unofficial guide to Universal Orlando and the unofficial guide to Disneyland. The 2023 editions have finally made it on a slow boat from Asia. Hallelujah.
2022?
Supply chain. They are I'm sorry, did I say 2023? No, I haven't written 2023 yet. I've skipped a whole year. That's what the pandemic will do to your brain. 2022, finally in the warehouse, going to be shipping out any day. I'm looking forward to seeing my copy, and so you'll be able to pick that up wherever fine books are still sold. You can find the unofficial guides at theunofficialguides.com or on Twitter at the UG Series, and you can find me on Twitter at Kubersky, or pick up a copy of the Orlando Weekly, orlandoweekly.com every week, and Attractions Magazine. You can find me on their weekly podcast and occasionally on the website. I think that pretty much covers it.
I read your column in the Orlando Weekly.
We can start talking about my side jobs, delivering newspapers. Really, that's all the important stuff.
Orlando Weekly's free. You go to your local Jersey Mike's in Central Florida. You'll find one. That's where I find it.
Look for the red boxes, or if you don't actually go out in public anymore, like me, you can just go to orlandoweekly.com and read it.
Oh, yeah, that too. Yeah, or follow you on Facebook, and then you post your stories, so I get to read them that way.
You and my mom. That's how she follows my life, through Facebook.
We're both so proud of you too.
Aww. Well, I'm proud of you. I remember when you were a fledgling theme park blogger, and it's incredible how influential you have grown, and the fact that you get way more views and clicks than anything I do makes me very jealous. Proud.
But you do the real work. You're out there. I'm just watching a live stream. You're in the room.
To be fair, you both do more than I do.
In
I
the
just
room,
show up and talk. So
in the room where it happens, baby.
In the room where you get a free.
In the room where you get the swag. I got a bag of H2O Plus products, and that was probably and a Figment comic book.
Oh, that's nice. They I noticed the Mouse Gear Dreamfinder ship was in there on its way to Disneyland.
That was one thing we didn't talk about. The one thing that was worth going to that in person for was getting to walk through the archive exhibit. They had, like you said, the Dreamcatcher from original Journey to Imagination ride, a lot of old merchandise, and they had a room full of some old animatronics and
Robot Butler. Robot Butler was there.
Robot Butler shows up.
They pull him out of that crate. They pull him out of that crate every time.
My only disappointment was it was kind of like a trivia game. There were no labels on anything, and the people working the room had not been given any instruction on what anything was. So there was a table full of hats from the Great Movie Ride. And I'm like, Is that Clint Eastwood's hat? Is that Humphrey Bogart's hat? Like I could
It's an
identify
Indiana
the scarecrow because it had straw on it. But some of the other Mary Poppins, that one I got.
Okay.
But some like Ingrid Bergman's hat was a little obscure, and it was only because I happened to run into an Imagineer who was walking through the exhibit and was explaining what stuff was that I figured out what was what.
You know, what would be a great nod is if they took all of those hats and they gave them to the guy trying to steal too many hats at the Pirates of the Caribbean ride with one foot in the boat and he's got the stack of hats on his head.
Yes.
Just add all those hats and make that stack go all the way to the ceiling. That'd be a great nod.
That would be, well, he would definitely be nodding if he had that many hats on his head.
He's already trying to steal too many hats.
Oh, man.
No more puns from me, I promise.
Check us out at patreon.com/themeparkstop for more podcasts. And we're doing holiday trivia next month in December for real prizes, fun stuff. So for as little as $1 a month, you can listen to more of our podcasts if you want to. It's there. Thank you again, Seth, so much for joining us.
Oh, my pleasure, and have a happy Turkey Day.
Gobble, 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 gobble.
Yay, food!